Pivot Gang, off their new album, You Can't Sit With Us, their debut album, You Can't Sit With Us. Dave, give me a little background on Pivot Gang.
Yeah, it's funny. I never really delved too much into most of the members. The most famous member of Pivot Gang, of course, is Saba. We reviewed his excellent album, Care For Me. It came out last year. You know him as a Chance collaborator. He's featured on Angels, for example. Chicago artists, of course. We review lots of them, and there's some more on this. Of course, Mick Jenkins and Smino, artists we talked about, pop up on this album. But the whole Pivot Gang is really just this clique that Saba's been running with, and he founded it with his brother and his cousin, as well as some other guys. His cousin has since passed. He's referenced on this project. But this is really their first major real effort as a group. I think they have one mixtape that came out like way back, like 2013 or something. So before Saba even himself was that well known. So this is their first, real look at anything. And I think this is a really, really good effort, 40 something minutes, but I really liked it a lot. What did you think? Cause I mean, we know Saba, but it's not uncommon for rap cliques and crews to have, weak points amongst the ranks when you have a really famous frontman, for example. But what did you think? Cause not knowing the rest of the guys.
I thought this was an incredibly successful debut album for a group that I had never heard of and didn't even know was coming around. There's an obvious Chicago influence in terms of like the music that they're rapping over, but more than anything, what stands out is just how well they work together as a group. They trade bars, they flow in and out of each other's verses so succinctly and effortlessly that it didn't feel like this was their first album. They felt very seasoned. I think that speaks to, obviously, that they've had relationships for a long time. Outside of Saba and his brosif, Joseph Chillams. But the other two other members of the band are brothers themselves, Fresh Waters and Squeak Pivot. It seems like these people just like to work together and like to make music together. It's interesting because Saba did make such a good album that we reviewed, Care For Me, but it almost feels like he's like destined to be the leader of this group. In a way, he almost is better on this, I felt like, than he is on the other one, which I think speaks just to how solid this album is with Care For Me being such a strong effort itself. Were you familiar with the other rappers in this group prior to this?
No, I mean, as far as I know, they don't have too much solo work. I'd known Saba was part of this Pivot gang. His Twitter handle at Saba Pivot. Like I knew he had his own clique. There's more cliques in Chicago than just Save Money. Like I knew he had this, but hadn't listened to that other tape. And I mean, I hadn't even listened to really Saba's solo work until that project that came up before Care For Me, Bucket List Project, I think it's called. But yeah, no, I didn't even know much about the group in terms of like when you hear the guys that aren't Saba or Mick or Smino or someone I know, I'm like, this is one of them. I don't know who it is still, but want to learn more about them. But I think despite not being familiar with everyone on the mic, as you said, because it flows so well and they have such great chemistry, it doesn't take much to enjoy this.
Yeah, and one of the songs that I think really got me into it was the second song on the album, Colbert, which I just thought was an obvious standout from this. Just their flow was amazing on it. It was a really fun song to listen to. Immediately, I thought this one's going on the playlist for me.
Yeah, my favorite song, it's funny, my favorite part of the album is Mick Jenkins' verse in No Vest. I think No Vest is such a banger, but Mick Jenkins has this amazing NBA reference where he's like, people think they're Curry, people think they're Ron Artest. They shoot like Dion Waiters. It's a mess. Obviously, I changed it. There's some words in there, but yeah, I laughed out loud and I ran that song back a few times because like that's smart. That's well done. But I think what's cool about this album is there's a lot of the jazz rap sound that we know come to expect from Saba and Chicago artists in general, but there's also some aggression, there's also some bars on here. This isn't coming from Mick, but other songs. So I think there's a lot to like and parse through on this. And I'm excited to kind of go back because there's a Smino hook on here. And that actually that's kind of getting outside of his comfort zone. I think a little bit. He's kind of chippy on that, but yeah, overall I liked it, and I think there's some strong songs towards the end too. You think maybe I'm checking out Studio Ground Rules, that lead single, really lyrical, referencing their dead cousin. Then you have like Mathematics or Jason Statham Part 2. I think there's some really cool songs on here, so big fan for sure.
Yeah, check out Pivot Gang. You can sit with us. Highly recommend.